Croeso and welcome to another edition of Tales for Wales, the pod that never fails to pluck the finest of Welsh heroes and plonk them straight on this lovely little podcast for your little ears to hear. I'm Franks. I'm not. I'm joined by Jack. Fucking hell.
Okay, here goes. At least I'm the first one in. Hi, Robert Grayson. I'm Mark Corrigan. Hi, Robert Grayson. Pleased to meet you. Hi, Mr. Grayson. Pleased to meet you.
Mr. Grayson's ready for you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Grayson. Pleased to meet you.
Hi, I'm Robert Grayson. Pleased to meet you.
No, I'm Robert Grayson.
No, sure.
Are you Robert Grayson?
No, I'm sorry, you are. You are, I'm not. I'm very sorry.
I have a sudden overpowering desire for a glass of water and a baguette.
I've only had like 4 beers. That's nothing. I'm Jack. I'm joined by Franks. I got flustered because you got a guess for doing it in front of someone. I'm embarrassed now. I've let the whole team down.
On a first date, that's how flustered you'd be. Right?
Yeah. It reminds me of Peep Show. Hi, I'm Jez. How's it hangling?
Yeah. Well, like you said, we do have a guest.
Let's right the ship. Yeah, we got a guest today. The wonderful Russ Williams. Say hello, mate.
Yeah, hello, boys. Thanks for having me.
No
Very
problem.
flattering introduction as well.
Well, yeah.
Hero.
Well, I thought you were trying to take the piss then, just like, only the best. Jesus, what sort of wreck have I joined today?
No, but we got author of the new book Where the Folk, which is coming out in September the 19th, isn't it? So about
that's right.
A month ago, and we've asked Russ on to, as you know, on this podcast we celebrate all things Welsh history, and a big part of that we got into a big folk scene. We love Welsh like folk. We think it's so mad and bizarre and funny, and we thought, what better person to talk about it than an author of an upcoming book around there?
Exactly, someone who actually knows his stuff, and like we pour at the knowledge tentatively, but yeah.
Oh, no fucking pressure then, is it?
Yeah.
Do you want to give a little background
about yourself? I was about to say, Russ, we're going to be fact-checking everything you say, okay? And if it's not 100% accurate, you'll be kicked, you'll be booted.
Well, that's it. See, on the topic of fact-checking, right, that's a nightmare about writing non-fiction books. Well, obviously it's fiction because it's folklore, but there's a lot of history involved as well. So today, they sent me the final product and said, there we are, Russ, no more editing, it's all done. And then, like, half an hour later, there was this article online. So I got a chapter on the Blue Stones at Stonehenge.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to say. Yeah, literally. I was like, there we are, cracked open a can, it's all done and dusted. And this article came out, Blue Stones from Scotland, not Wales. Shocked historians. I was like, oh, fuck.
They're from Scotland. If you read a book that says it's not right, it's complete rubbish, so don't even bother.
Yeah.
The guy who discovered it was from the part where it was meant to originally come from. So there's a big story that these stones had come from West Wales and they would take to southern England, to Stonehenge. And the guy who discovered it was from that part in West Wales. And he's like, people back home are going to fucking hate me. It's like, yeah, you betrayed them. Although some of the stones are, aren't they? The outside stones are from Wales. The inside ones are now from Scotland. So, and there's some from England.
Yeah, it's like the altar stone in the middle, I think, is the one from Scotland. So I think I got off on that one. Like, because, got away with that one. Not got off. I got away with it.
You make it sound like the guy who discovered it because he was from West Wales. He was like, a couple of drinks of whiskey in the night. He's looking at his notes where he's discovered the stone. He's looking at the fire and going, Do I die with the lie?
Well, he's like a really young researcher in I think he lives in Australia now, and he's like a proper low down on pecking order, and he discovered this massive, the biggest shock to stone in circle in a millennia. But
it's big in Stone magazine. Yeah, they've gone nuts for it.
Yeah, Stone Weekly drama shock. So Russ, do you want to give a little bit of background about yourself before we go into some questions?
Yeah, so as you can tell by the accent, I'm not from your neck of the woods. So I grew up in Caernarfon, up north. Came down to Cardiff for the bigger gene pool, and I've stayed. So I've got a bit of a mongrel accent now, if you will. So I was at a festival on the weekend, and this English woman said to me, "You've got the pissed off accent of the north, the lyrical softness of the south. I can't figure you out."
Best of both worlds, mate. Best of both worlds.
So yeah, and Yeah, but, I've been writing all my life, just as, like a hobby more than anything. And then, what happened during lockdown, basically, I started a blog, which eventually became a book deal. And so, 35, got my first book coming out this year.
Not bad
Amazing.
at all, mate. Not bad at all.
And it's based around Welsh. How come you chose Welsh folk history as a reason, as a milieu? Is that the word? What's the word people say? As your muse. Why was that your muse?
I've always, kind of had this boyish interest, like, in like monsters and, in dragons, what have you, growing up.
Yeah.
And it was all Greek mythology when I was a kid,
Mm.
And then basically during lockdown, I was starting to I was writing some fiction on Welsh folktales. So I was reading up a lot on it, for the first time in my life. And I was like, these stories are actually pretty, they're on par with the Greek myths, I would say, And then, because of the lockdown restrictions, we could only go so far, right? So I was like, right, where can I go within 10 miles? So I started picking locations from the Mabinogion or what have you.
Nice.
And then I was telling my mates about it, and a lot of them, they were almost ashamed when they were like, oh, I'm Welsh. I should know these tales, but I don't. So I started writing a blog, really, to kind of educate the masses, if you will. But I kind of got sucked down this folklore rabbit hole, and I was like, right, well, where do these stories, where do they come from and what have you? And so that's how I got into it. And then I emailed a few publishers, and Calon, who are owned by University of Wales Press, they were like, "Yeah, fuck, that'll be that would sell." It wasn't just my mum. It wasn't just my mum sending me likes by that point. So I was like, "All right,
that's fast, man." And I think, like you said, people are almost embarrassed they don't know these things, but unfortunately, we talk about this all the time on the pod. The history, the mythology, it's just not taught. It really isn't taught in schools or anywhere. Really, you really have to go off your own back and look into this stuff.
You're a massive mythology person, so out of the two
I was just about to say, I myself got my mythology start, if you will, in Greek mythology, because I think that's the most, widely known. Maybe it's certainly the most prevalent in popular media. So looking into that is where I think I started with Stephen Fry's book Mythos. Have you read that one?
I haven't. No.
It's very entry level, it's very surface level stuff, but it's really good just to give you the feel of what these stories are about. And then I started wondering myself, going, well, surely there's a Welsh mythology, from the Celtic roots and stuff. And like you said, when you get into it, the stories, in my opinion, are just as good, if not better, because I have a more of a connection to them.
They're mad, aren't they? They are fucking.
There is one of them. I actually can't remember which one it is now. So it's not one of the first, the 4 branches, the Mabinogion, right? So there's 11 tales in the Mabinogion. And one of them, I'm pretty sure, it doesn't say I'm in Greece, but it sounds a lot like Greece. So this Welsh guy goes off on an adventure, and, he comes across lions, and there's a one-eyed giant, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, they do kind of interlink as well.
That's it. And thematically, they do a lot anyway, don't they? You kind of see the same stories, if you like, or same narratives told a lot. It doesn't matter where the origin of the mythology is. They kind of say the same stories a lot of the time, or certainly similar ones, with similar themes and similar morals to the story. I found that definitely when looking across, different, you go from Norse and Greek and Celtic and all that. So it's almost like a common theme running through everyone's tales, the tales you told people.
When I was reading the Mabinogion stuff, if you read it written down and not told you in a story, it just seems too hard to comprehend and too odd and too, when they have to put their foot in a bathtub and stand on a goat and shoot something. It's always what are you on about? But when you tell it like a story, I think they're so much more powerful. And there's a good book called the Mabinogion, the Mab, which tells them in a fun way. We've covered that before on this pod. But in there, it brings the characters to life. So, Russ, what would you say is one of your favourite Welsh folk characters?
Well, I don't know about you boys, but I've always yeah, I suppose I'm back Batman, not Superman. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
100%. I
Yeah.
couldn't agree with you more. Superman's a
thinker,
nerd.
mate. Yeah, a
Yeah,
thinker.
that's it. So a lot of these, the old, certainly in the Mabinogion, so the older tales. A lot of these heroes, a lot of them were total bastards.
Yeah, yeah.
You wouldn't. They certainly weren't Superman.
Yeah.
It's only later on, really, like in the Victorians, kind of developed King Arthur, romanticized him into this knight in shining armor. But in King Arthur in the Mabinogion certainly wasn't like that. So yeah, I like my anti-heroes, if you can call them that. And I think the biggest two would be, Gwydion and Efnisien. I don't know how much you boys know about those two.
Well, do you want to give us a little bit of flavour for people who don't, including me, who don't know as much about those people?
Yeah, so they're both Gwydion more than Efnisien. So Efnisien turns up in the second branch of the Mabinogi, and he's Bendigeidfran's brother. So Bendigeidfran is the giant king, and he is the Superman. You know what I mean? He can't do wrong, kind of thing. And Efnisien's kind of like the jealous brother, if you will.
Yeah.
And Bendigeidfran makes a deal with the king of Ireland that he can marry their sister, which pisses Efnisien off, only because he wasn't asked. Not because it's his sister and that. And then it's his actions then that kind of trigger a war with Ireland, because he kind of mutilates the horses of the Irishmen while they were staying over here.
Throw in a spanner into the works, doesn't he, old Efnisien? He's an agent of chaos kind of thing.
Yeah, he's the Loki to Thor.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But ultimately, in the end, he kind of becomes the hero, and at the end of the story. So the Irish have got this cauldron of rebirth. So the Welsh just can't beat them, because every time a soldier dies, they throw him into the cauldron and he's reborn. And Efnisien sacrifices himself. He dives into the cauldron, and because it's a living being going in, the cauldron kind of blows up. And that's how they ultimately defeat them. So you got this, he's a real bastard throughout most of the story, but ultimately he saves the day. And
Who doesn't love a redemption arc, isn't it? Who doesn't love a redemption arc?
Yeah, that's it.
Do you know we forgot to do one, because I was really interested to chat to you, Russ. At the start of every podcast, we always talk about what we're having to drink, and we haven't even mentioned that. We won't throw in. So just before we start, you said the last podcast you went on, you had to wear a shirt. Ours is a slightly different vibe. We're a bit more boozy. So what's everyone drinking tonight?
Well, I'm a lager louts myself.
Yes, good man.
You're in good company, mate. You're in good company.
I just raided what was left. I was at a festival the weekend. I raided what was left in the cool box. So I'm on the Cruz Campo.
Oh,
nice. Yeah. With an old friend, the old Cruz Campo.
Oh, you're fans, you?
We went on a stag, was it last year sometime? And or was it earlier this year? I can't believe I remember now. I think it was last year. And all they seemed to sell in every bar was Cruz Campo. So we got a real fondness for it.
And what are you on, Jack?
Oh, I'm on my last Bud Light at the moment, on offer in Co-op, £4 for 4 pints. It's not a plug, by the way. That's just good sense, isn't it? And after that, I got sense. And after that, I got I think I got some Carlins, but I have got some backup rum. It's always good to have something that just in the chamber ready to go.
I'm a Carlin and backup rum as well. My wife's away tonight, so the lager out shall play, and I've got so much Carlin in. I've got
Tell him what you text me earlier when you said the wife's away, so the pig will play.
I ordered a pizza. I'm on like a diet, Russ, at the moment, and it's fucking. I got on a honeymoon in a couple of weeks' time, and we both want to be like in a bit better like shape. So and I'm planning to have a boxing match like in relatively near future. So I'm trying to lose a bit of timber, and but the minute my wife turns her back, I'm snaffling at something when she's not around. And I
as soon as there's no one adjudicating anything, you're fucking going off the rails.
Yeah, but it could be worse. I could be texting people, or, doing some sordid things. I've just been a big fat loser. So,
Do you have a pizza then? Look, I wasn't cheating. All right, didn't cheat on you, did I? You should be thankful.
So anyway, now we've done the admin of what beers we're having. Are there so does the book focus primarily on the Mabinogion, or like what's the tone? If we're trying to get, if we're interested in our listeners who are really actually, we have a big folk fan. Whenever we do a folk episode or Welsh mythology, they're always our most downloaded. So there's like a huge appetite for this sort of thing. What's the tone, and what can people expect if they were to read Where the Folk?
Well, hey, look, I'm not comparing myself to Bill Bryson by any means, but, essentially it's a Bill Bryson-esque book.
Can't believe you just compared yourself to Bill Bryson, man.
I just did, didn't I?
I'm not going to compare myself, but that's what others are saying.
Yeah.
Him and Jesus, you take your pick.
Yeah. So it's me going around Wales, basically, in my my little red Fiesta. And I visit 32 locations in total. So I start off in Cardiff during lockdown, like I mentioned, kind of, venturing as far as I can go. And then off I go then. And Sophie, who you've already spoken, so she's my girlfriend who set me up with this. So she joins me going to the west, Pembrokeshire and all that.
Sophie's an amazing singer, isn't she? She's like an incredible musician in her own right. So did she do any singing along the way for you in the car?
No, she's a bit, she doesn't sing in front of me much, but I do get to see, you were on about your wife, I'll have a drink while she's away. It's the other way around for me, so there's always gigs and all that we're going to. I'm like constantly hungover. I'm in my 30s now, boys. The Hanover's a terminal.
I love that. Just going, oh, you got another gig of you? That's good. I guess I'll go. Is it off the bar? There is a bar, is there? Oh, drinks for VIPs or what?
So I do get to see her singing a lot. Yeah, fair play. But so she joins you in the west, and then off I go up north then, and my dad joins me for the last leg of it.
Oh, class, man. You've actually put like a massive shift in there, like travel-wise as well. You actually go into these locations and talking about it like on site. Yeah,
and I set up interviews with people on the way as well, local historians and what have you, and the Llantrisant Folk Club, they do the Mary Lwyd, so I hung out with them for a bit. It was cool. And doing this as well, right, you discover places you never even knew existed in Wales. You think it's a small country, but there's so much to see. So honestly,
we started this podcast. This came in lockdown as well. We came up with a few ideas in lockdown. This is one of the things we went with, and we thought we'd just cover. It's slightly ignorant. We love Welsh history, but by no means at all qualified to talk about it. But we'd researched lots online, and we thought, okay, we'll cover some big battles, but how long can this really go on for? And every single time we discover something new, like we cover a new topic, we get like 3 separate strands of a different person to talk about or a different thing to talk about. And I think the Welsh just aren't great at celebrating their own history. So I think we're learning all the time that people really like learning about it, but there's not too much out there for you, and it's not very accessible. It's either really heavily academic and quite old, or it's not really available.
That's the thing. Like, it's a fine line to straddle between, like you said, just have a huge textbook that's like reference to shit, and it's very technical and like jargonistic, or there's something like there's nothing very simple and accessible, like you say, is there? So.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to be selling myself a bit.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
But
mate, this is your platform, buddy. Do it.
But that that was part of the appeal for Calon, the publishers, with my book, because it isn't an academic book by any means, and neither is it for kids. It's just
that's such a good point. If you Google Welsh folk, right, so often you'll get Welsh folk stories for children. That's like a market, and which is great. It's really cool and fun, and like you should be learning about there. But there is, I want to read about them, and I don't want it to be boring. I want it to be told in a cool way.
If you're in your early 30s looking to get into something like this, you don't want to be reading kids' books, do you? You want to get a bit meatier than that, because some of it is sort of not suitable for children, isn't it? Some of the stories are a little bit more. I wouldn't say R-rated, but they're like. I'd give them a 15, maybe, if they were in the cinema.
Oh, God, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. Yes, a lot of, the Mabinogion, I keep banging on about them, but a lot of them certainly are R-rated. Like, there's a lot of these characters, there's rape in there and all sorts. Subjects you wouldn't, obviously, present to kids.
So do Do you have, because you've travelled the country, do you have any recommendations on where people can go to feel more in tune with like Welsh folk history, or a specific place you'd really recommend someone go visit?
Yeah, see, it depends what you mean. If you want to feel like Gandalf going off on an adventure, all those old hill forts up in Snowdonia, or Eryri, I should say.
Yeah,
you go to those sorts of places. But if you want to get a taste of what it was like for the people who actually believed in these tales years ago, go to Llangaiach Fawr Manor near Merthyr. Have you boys heard of that place?
I have.
Nah.
I went for a school trip there when I was younger, and I was going to suggest me and Jack go there for the pod, so that's really apt. I was going to discuss it. It's not far from us. It's in South Wales. Yeah, do you want to explain why you'd pick that?
Yeah, it's great. So it's basically just this old manor house, and off to a good start. It's built on like an old Celtic settlement, so you've got the whole shining kind of theme going on there. Then one of those haunted places in Wales and all that.
Yeah, Halloween. They do a big Halloween tour there for ghost tours and stuff.
Yeah, they've got all the proper like ghost busting equipment, I don't know what they're called, all those sensors and
like 80s films, like 80s horror films. They're like, it was built on an ancient Indian burial ground. It's the same thing. Was like an ancient Celtic burial ground.
Yeah, and this is the real deal, But what I found most cool though was. Two things. So the staff there, they all dress up like they did back in the day, and they talk to you like
of time
they used
for that.
to.
Really get me into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I went, it was during the pandemic. I went in, the guy met me at the door, and he was like, "Oh, hello, my lord," and all this. And he was like, "Dude, cleanse thy hands on the way in," and pointed to sanitizer.
Love it.
That's so good.
So that's
Adorn thy face covering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nether between 2 meters thou thy meet. Okay.
Yeah. So that was cool, but also they've got like these old things they found like hidden under floorboards and all that. So like little I don't know what you call them, like mummified bats wrapped in children's socks or whatever. And they would leave them there to ward off Tylwyth Teg, like fairies and what have you,
and they've
even
bloody removed them. What's going on?
That's
why it's haunted.
That's why it's haunted. Yeah. And even on the fireplace, there's like a little, the fireplace was painted red, and I didn't think much of it. But the guy told me that back in the day, they believed that the colour red warded off spirits from coming down the chimney.
Oh,
yeah.
We got to check that place out.
Yeah.
It is worth it, yeah.
Do you know when I was there, you rolled up, you made a candle out of beeswax, and then you also put a satsuma orange stuffed with cloves, and you put it around your neck because they said it used to smell so bad that you'd have to have something to like get rid of the stench. So you'd have this orange dangling around your neck like a necklace, with all these cloves stuck in there. And whenever whenever I see cloves in like a recipe or anything like that, I've got such a vivid memory of just stabbing them into an orange. A really visceral image of it. But it's good there. That's a fun one, and that's if you're from South Wales, it's super easy to come to. It's not too far from.
So close to us, isn't it?
Castell Coch. So it's like just off the.
That's literally just up the road. We got to go check that out. That sounds great.
Yeah, 100%. And there's like an old courtroom there as well, where they used to hold witch trials.
Oh shit! Oh god, that must have been fucking.
It sounds like it's an absolute treasure trove if you like this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Do you have any specific folk stories that you enjoy the most?
You know what? I gotta be honest. Like the favourites would be the Mabinogion, but they're obviously long. You'd be here all fucking night going through them. But the sort of personal one, the Bev Gellert.
Oh yes, that's Jack's favourite.
I love Bev Gellert. I love Bev Gellert. It's a tie between that and Culhwch and Olwen for me. I think Bev Gellert is so simple in its like execution. I love it, and it's when my great granddad used to tell me when I was like tiny. And he was a first language Welsh guy, minor, and he used to tell it with such like
vigor.
I don't know, vigor. Yeah, he really used to sell it. And then Culhwch and Olwen is when I discovered way later when I was not even, in the last few years. And I love that as like an epic adventure. I'm not saying it's like it's comparable to Lord of the Rings or whatever, but I love this idea of like gathering a team and going on a journey, and and doing these insurmountable tasks. Those are two of my favorites. Easy.
Yeah.
So-
what I like about the Beth Gelert stories, like you said, it's the perfect example of a folktale. Is it short, sweet, and there's a moral behind it.
Yeah, exactly. You know exactly why it was told.
Yeah.
For so many thousand years or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's just it's a really easy one, especially for kids. It's such an easy one to convey, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's personal for me because I worked in Beth Gelert for like 10 years in a cafe there.
Oh,
no
yeah.
way.
It's very
That's
close
beautiful.
to my heart, that story, yeah.
Oh, such a beautiful place. I've been up there a couple of times now.
You love
It's
it, don't you, Jeff?
one of my favorite. It's fucking picturesque up there. Like the idea of me retiring and just sitting on one of the pubs in front of the river there, like until I die. It sounds fucking great.
Yeah. And you know what? They do the best New Year's Eve night. I recommend anyone go to Beth Gelert on New Year's Eve. It's
Really?
class. Yeah, so there's only about 4 pubs, but everyone kind of gathers on the street and on the bridge and all that. And they do like a themed parade every year, which always gets a bit mad. And then people jump off the bridge into the river. And one year, they literally had a TARDIS that they set fire to at midnight. It's like
I love
totally bonkers. Yeah.
And when you said TARDIS, I was like, where's he going with this? So, like, I can't imagine. Oh, they must be really proud of it up there, is it? No. Oh, no, they set it on fire.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah, it's more like the Wicker Man burning science. Like.
Yeah. I noticed when I was up there last time, there was like these huge, like, braziers sort of thing along the river. And I was wondering, do they get like lit for like New Year's or maybe like Halloween or something like that? Because they were like, they must be there for a reason. And I was like, how cool would it look at night if those were lit? Because these huge things, like, and I was like, oh, I got to find out when, whatever they're for, I got to find out when they're lit, and I got to go up there.
We have a bunch of American listeners, and North Wales is mythical. Like if you ever come over to the UK, you have to go visit to North Wales, and it is, you can see why so much of it became like Tolkien-esque, and why he really fell in love with the place. Talking about, we have quite a broad range of listeners, Russ. So some who are really into folk stuff, some who are into like modern history, some who just love Welsh stuff, and some who just like British history. Who would you recommend? Like, so I haven't done a deep dive into the Mabinogion. So do I need to know the Mabinogion before I read all of this stuff, or will you take
no. Yeah, I kind of wrote it, like I said, the whole point of the blog was to educate the masses, tell, these people who said, I should know it. So I that's the audience, really.
Perfect.
And even the title, come on, it's Where the Folk, you know what I mean? You can tell it's very...
I was going to say, it's you can tell it's a tongue-in-cheek kind of title, isn't it? So it's not going to be a stuffy kind of report on mythly, is it?
I was also trying to crowbar in you promoting it to all of our listeners. Just say, it's
yeah, because every chapter is, it's titled Where the Folk can I find a hungover ghost? Where the folk can I hear the scream of a banshee?
Oh, that's a good gimmick. I would enjoy that. Going through, I'd be looking to my wife, who probably wouldn't give a shit, and I look and go, he says it every chapter. This is great.
I love this.
Yeah.
And is there anything else before we wrap up? Anything else you'd want people to tell about the book? We're coming towards the end of the episode now. The important things, it comes out on the 19th of September, doesn't it? But you can pre-order it now, which I'd highly recommend. We'll put the link and stuff where they can order it from. It's I got the link. It's from the University of Wales Press. We'll put that in the podcast description, and we'll put it on our socials. Cool. Is there anything you want to, any plugs or anything you'd like to say, Russ, before we sign off?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to plug anything about my book, but I will give you, I will encourage people to go out. If you do have an interest in this kind of thing, go out and see the places, because a lot of them aren't going to be here forever, because one thing I learned on my little journey was all these sites by the coast, 50 years' time, some of them won't be there because of erosion. The sea levels are rising. And then, the sites disappear to, industrialization. There was one place, there's this cottage And the story was that, a man married a fairy, had a fairy wife and all this. And the cottage was there. But they built a bloody car park over it.
Oh,
So
hate to
yeah,
see
so
it,
that
man.
would be my end note, I would say. If you do have an interest, don't wait too long. Get out there
And
and see
these
them.
places, some of them are so secluded. And we went to supposedly Llywelyn and Llywelyn's cave that he slept in before the Battle of
We've done a couple of
Owain
road
Bridge.
trips, Russ, just sort of a bit of background. We've done like a few road trips around Wales, and I'm sure Jackson will say this now, but they're always so poorly signposted. Sorry, Jack,
Always. No, it's true. You were going to say exactly what I was going to say. That, to be fair, this cave, the Llywelyn's cave, that was relatively better signposted, but these were just literally like bits of cardboard someone taped to farm gates and stuff like that. But at least it was there, because some of the places we've been are a fucking nightmare to find because they're just so. Yeah, and we always said to me, like, why aren't these like more signposted? But I suppose it's one of those feedback loops where, because not that many people know about it, they're not searching it out. And I don't know, maybe they don't think the need is there, but it'd be so much better if all these things just had a little bit of guidance to get to.
I was just going to say, I had to knock so many doors, you know what I mean, on my trips. And a lot of people knew, they'd open the door. I didn't even say anything. They were like, are you here for the standing stone? Yeah. That's it.
You said don't wait. I think that's such a nice message for people to do, because there's always an excuse not to do something. And I think I used to fall into this trap where I thought, I'd love to go to that. And I wouldn't. And because of this pod, we do a lot more of that stuff. And you feel so much more in tune with the history, and you get to you enjoy it a lot more. And I think, Russ's message of don't wait.
I know, like, I got a kick out of it, but I know you've certain Franks when we were in that Llywelyn's cave and you're touching the walls, and it's almost the thing, was he there, was he not? But it didn't matter at that point, where you're like, oh, imagine he was, and we were in this same place before day before he died. We were buzzing afterwards.
I love
so of course we went for a pint after.
So. I like touching a beam of wood that was put there like 600 years ago and thinking, a man 600 years ago put his hand where I put my hand now, and I think this is like a genuine connection to the past, and I love it. It's like the mudlarks in London who go through the Thames and pick up old stuff. They picking up something someone dropped 1,000 years ago, and I fucking love that stuff. So
well, I went up to the cave once myself. Did you boys go to the memorial thing for him as well? That was nearby.
With the giant stone. And what
I find mad with that was people are still leaving flowers for him.
Yeah. I loved that. We regretted not bringing something to drop off, because there was like loads of shit there. I mean, a lot of it was kind of like tat shit. It was like there was like a Plaid Cymru hat and all these like mad things like that.
The thing it was a nice thing. Like the stone is lovely and everything.
I think the stone's good. It's Kilmary, isn't it?
In Kilmary.
Yeah,
we couldn't help but think, like, last kind of Prince of Wales. I mean, Owen Glyndŵr notwithstanding, but last sort of official recognised Prince of Wales and everything. And it's like, it's just a little stone. It was quite good, but it was like, I regard him in such high regard, and. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, why isn't there a monument here? There should be a cathedral where this stands or something.
When you have like a great William Wallace statue, if you like Falkirk, you have these national like Wallace monuments, like these huge buildings dedicated to it. And he was like our last one. We don't even have that an awful lot for like Hywel Dda or like other great kings and princes throughout Wales. We're not great at celebrating our own stuff, and that's the main thing we try and drive home with this ridiculous podcast, is to celebrate it and embrace it and to seek it out. So I think your book ties in well with that, Russ.
Yeah, there is, I mentioned, I was talking to the publishers the other day, and like the whole Cool Cymru thing in the 90s with Welsh. I do think that's happening with Welsh folklore at the moment. There's a lot going on with it, I must say.
Bit of a resurgence.
Well, like we said, every time we do a folk history podcast, it gets a lot of traction. So and that's people actively searching it out. So there's clearly an appetite for people to do it. And
you said,
and people are
people what they want.
A lot of people want to get a bit more back in tune with their not even, maybe pagan's a bit too strong a word, but a bit more in touch with older history and that mythical stuff. So I can see why.
Yeah.
So with Welsh mythology, do you think it's one, as I mentioned earlier, Greek mythology, sort of everyone knows who Zeus is, don't they? Hercules. People know who Thor is, Loki, especially because of the Marvel stuff. Do you think Welsh mythology is one that could lend itself to popular media in this day and age, or do you think it'd have to be like heavily changed to the point where it maybe wasn't even accurate anymore? Because I know, for example, Thor in the Marvel stuff, you know, if you look at him and going, oh, that's what the mythology is about, that's very far from it.
Yeah.
Do you think it would need to be sort of sanitized a bit if it was ever going to be kind of accepted in the popular media?
Well, one good thing is, like you said, it hasn't been touched on that much, so, there's really a fresh audience for it almost. So, but I guess, it all depends who your audience is, I suppose, because like I said, in the Mabinogion, there's instances of rape in there and all sorts. So
yeah, you'd have to pick and choose, wouldn't you, what stories you were doing. I always thought, like, for example, like I said, Culhwch and Olwen, one of my favourites. I reckon you could adapt that into a kind of like an animated series or something. I think you could do that. Yeah. Maybe, an adult animated series, because there's plenty of those about at the moment, like Invincible. The Boys did like a spin-off one, didn't they? And that's all got, blood and gore and God knows what in it.
Yeah.
I really think you could make like maybe a mini. You'd have to change it a bit, because I think how many impossible tasks does Culhwch get given in that? It's like stupid amount, and it's 40 something.
Yeah, it is 40, I think. Yeah, 40. You are right. Well, it's interesting. Have you boys seen there's a Mabinogion?
I was just going to say that
video game coming out.
Yes, yeah. We have seen that. You I think you sent it over to me, didn't you, Frank?
Yeah, we're going to try and get them on, aren't we? The developer of that's going to hopefully come on the pod soon to discuss it.
I think one of them worked on Assassin's Creed, I think, right?
Sick.
I read that in the article. Yeah, one of the designers worked on that.
But yeah, that I think that can translate to a game. It's a really narrative-driven game, isn't it? It's not like a huge amount of like action yourself. You're listening to these stories, so yeah, which makes sense.
You get tons of those as well. Even like some AAA games are like that. The ones like Until Dawn and things like that, where it's all about the story and not so much about the action gameplay or anything like that. Yeah. But it does. I think it lends itself to that kind of visual storytelling with games. I think it could work really well.
I think what's really popular, with the Mabinogion specifically, people love doing modern versions of it. So rather than tell it, like you said, a lot of like like TV films, if made for TV films.
Yeah,
there's been a few of them, but they're never on. It's not like a fantasy. It's almost like modern times, but the storyline's there. So that gets done a fair bit. And in books as well.
Llian Wen, mate, with John Ogwen. I mean,
that's
I
the
remember watching
one,
that in school. Yeah, Christ Almighty, that's a fucking dog shit film. If you want to go, if you want to go see a butchering of a source material, good God! At one point, she flings a harp. Like, and harps are big, man. And you're thinking, how has she done this? But yeah,
although
go watch
small,
it if you
she's
really
mighty.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, diolch, Russ. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. It was really interesting. I'm looking forward to reading the book in full. And just to remind you again, it comes out in, what was the date again? It was middle of September, wasn't it? 18th, 19th of September?
19th of September is out, yeah.
Perfect. All right, well, diolch yn gwrando. Oh, Russ, where can people find you? You're on social media?
I've tried to hit all of them, apart from TikTok. I didn't really know what I could do with TikTok.
Same, honest. We can't be asked. We just can't be asked to do it.
But yeah, if you type in Russ Williams, Welsh author, I'm sure I'll come up on social media. Yeah,
sweet.
We'll link you all in the episode description and stuff as well, mate, and try and we'll do that for you.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Nice one. Yeah. And I enjoyed that, boys. Yeah, it was a good laugh.
Great, diolch. Well, cheers everyone. I'll catch you soon.
Just coming, yeah. Diolch pawb. Ta-ra, ta-ra, ta-ra.